Hello everyone. Welcome back to English Tom. I'm Tommy, and today I want to talk about silence. Not the peaceful kind of silence. Not the comfortable kind. I want to talk about the painful kind. The silence that happens when someone asks you a question in English and your mouth opens, but nothing comes out. The silence that happens in a meeting, in a class, in a conversation, when you know what you want to say inside your heart, but the words won't come. The silence that happens when you watch other people speaking English freely and naturally, and you feel invisible. Small. Left behind. If you have ever felt that silence, then this lesson is for you. Because today, I am going to give you something very specific. Very practical. Very powerful. I am going to give you a complete 30-day plan to go from that painful silence to real, confident, natural English speaking. Not a vague plan. Not a just practice more kind of advice. A real plan. Day by day. Week by week. With specific things to do, specific habits to build, and a specific result at the end. By day 30, you will not be the same person you are today. I promise you that. But I need one thing from you in return. I need you to stay with me. All the way through. Because this lesson is long. And it is deep. And every part of it matters. So get comfortable. Make your drink. Take a breath. And let's build something together. Where does the silence come from? Before we talk about how to break the silence, we need to understand where it comes from. Because most people try to solve a problem they don't fully understand. And that is why so many learners stay stuck for years. The silence is not stupidity. Let me say that clearly and loudly. If you go silent when you try to speak English, it does not mean you are not intelligent. It does not mean you are bad at languages. It does not mean you will never be fluent. It means something much simpler. It means your brain has not yet been trained to produce English automatically under pressure. Let me explain what happens in your brain when you try to speak English. When you learned your native language as a child, the process was slow and natural. For years, you heard the language before you spoke it. Thousands of hours of input before your first real sentence. And when you finally spoke, there was no pressure. Nobody was waiting. Nobody was judging. You just spoke when you were ready. But English learning is different for most people. You learn it in a classroom. With a teacher watching. With classmates listening. With grades being given. And then suddenly, someone asks you to speak. In front of people. Under pressure. In real time. And your brain, which hasn't had thousands of hours of natural input, which hasn't been allowed to develop at its own pace, simply cannot produce the language fast enough. So it freezes. And you go silent. This is not failure. This is a training problem. Not a talent problem. And training problems have solutions. The 3 layers of silence. In my experience working with English learners, I have found that the silence usually comes from 3 layers. And we need to understand all 3. The first layer is the knowledge gap. This is when you go silent because you genuinely don't know the words or grammar needed to express what you want to say. Your vocabulary is limited. Your sentence structures are few. And when the moment comes, you reach for the words and they are not there. The second layer is the processing gap. This is when you have the knowledge somewhere in your brain, but you cannot access it fast enough. You know the word. You know the grammar. But your brain is too slow. The conversation moves on before you can form your sentence. The third layer is the fear layer. And this is the most powerful and most destructive of all three. This is when you actually have the words. You could form the sentence. But fear stops you. Fear of making a mistake. Fear of sounding stupid. Fear of being judged. Fear of the silence itself becoming embarrassing. Most learners have all three layers. But the fear layer is usually the dominant one. And it is the reason why even learners with good English knowledge still go silent in real conversations. Our 30-day plan is designed to address all three layers. One layer at a time. 1 week at a time. Building from the foundation up. The story of Lena. Let me tell you about Lena. Lena was 24 years old. She lived in Poland. She had studied English for 12 years. 12 years of school English. 12 years of grammar lessons and vocabulary tests and reading exercises. And after 12 years, her written English was actually quite good. She could write emails. She could understand most English texts. She scored well on English exams. But speaking? Speaking was a completely different story. Every time Lena needed to speak English in real life, something happened to her body. Her heart would beat faster. Her hands would feel cold. Her throat would feel tight. And her mind would go completely blank. She once described the feeling like this. She said, "It is like I am standing behind a glass wall. I can see the conversation happening. I can understand what people are saying. But I cannot get through the wall to join them." That image broke my heart. And I think many of you know exactly what that glass wall feels like. Lena tried many things. She took speaking classes. She watched English films every day. She tried conversation apps. She tried speaking with strangers online. But nothing seemed to break the wall. Every time she tried to speak, the fear came back. The silence came back. The glass wall came back. Until she found a different approach. Not more studying. Not more classes. But a systematic plan. A plan that started not with speaking, but with something deeper. Something that had to happen before speaking was even possible. I will tell you what that plan was. And I will tell you what happened to Lena. But first, let me explain the philosophy behind our 30-day plan. The philosophy, from the inside out. Most speaking courses and plans try to fix the outside first. They say, speak more. Practice more. Put yourself in more situations. Force yourself to talk. And while those things are important, they miss something crucial. They try to build the roof before the foundation is ready. Our 30-day plan works from the inside out. Week 1 is about the foundation. Building safety inside your brain. Teaching your mind that English is not dangerous. That mistakes are not fatal. That speaking, even imperfect speaking, is something you are capable of. Week 2 is about building. Adding tools. Vocabulary, sentence structures, speaking techniques that make production easier and faster. Week 3 is about practicing. Putting everything together in real speaking practice. Longer, more complex, more natural. Week 4 is about becoming. Moving from someone who practices English to someone who speaks English. Changing your identity. Changing how you see yourself as a speaker. 4 weeks. 4 shifts. And at the end, a completely different relationship with the English language. Let's begin. Week 1, Safety First. Welcome to Week 1. And I want to tell you something that might surprise you. In Week 1, we are not focusing on English first. We are focusing on safety. Because here is the truth that most language teachers never say. You cannot learn to speak a language when your brain is in fear mode. Fear activates what scientists call the fight or flight response. When this happens, the thinking parts of your brain shut down. The creative, flexible, language-producing parts of your brain go offline. And all that remains is survival instinct. This is why you can know English perfectly in your room but go completely blank in front of another person. Your brain is not broken. It is scared. And a scared brain cannot produce language. So week 1 is about training your brain to feel safe with English. To associate English not with judgment and failure, but with comfort and possibility. Day 1 and 2, the whisper practice. On the first 2 days, I want you to do something that feels almost too easy. I want you to whisper English. Not speak. Not perform. Not practice for anyone. Just whisper. Alone in your room. Very quietly. So quietly that even if someone was in the next room, they couldn't hear you. Whisper simple sentences. About your surroundings. About your feelings. About what you see. I am sitting in my room. The light is soft today. I feel a little nervous. I am going to try. This is the beginning. Why whisper? Because whispering removes the performance pressure. Your brain doesn't register whispering as speaking in public. It feels private, safe, internal. And in that safety, the first connections between your thoughts and English words begin to form. Do this for just 5 minutes each day. Morning is best. But any time works. The goal of day 1 and 2 is simple. To speak English, any English, without fear. Even if it is just a whisper in an empty room. Day 3 and 4, the mirror conversation. On days 3 and 4, we take one small step forward. Find a mirror. Stand in front of it. And speak to your reflection. In English. In a normal voice. Not a whisper anymore. Don't think about what to say in advance. Just look at yourself and speak. Hello. My name is. I am learning English. Today is day 3 of my plan. Look into your own eyes while you speak. This is important. Many learners look away when they speak because eye contact, even with themselves, feels exposing. But eye contact with yourself trains confidence. You will feel strange. That is completely normal. Do it anyway. Speak for 2 minutes. About anything. Your day. Your feelings. Something you noticed. Something you are thinking about. 2 minutes. Mirror. Normal voice. Eye contact with yourself. On day 3 and 4, this is your most important practice. Day 5 and 6, the recording experiment. On days 5 and 6, we do something that many learners find terrifying. We record ourselves. Take your phone. Open the voice recorder or camera. Press record. And speak for 1 minute in English. Then listen back. Or watch back. I know how uncomfortable this is. Most people hate the sound of their own voice. Most people cringe when they watch themselves on camera. I understand completely. But here is what the recording does that nothing else can do. It shows you the truth. Not the exaggerated, scary truth that fear creates in your imagination. The real truth. And most learners are shocked to discover that the real truth is much better than the imagined one. You might notice, oh, I understood myself. My English was not as broken as I thought. Or you might notice specific things to work on. A word you always mispronounce. A sentence structure that feels unnatural. A habit of going silent at a certain type of word. Both of these are valuable. Both are progress. Listen to your recording. Don't criticize yourself harshly. Just observe. Like a scientist studying an interesting subject. Keep the recording. You will listen to it again at the end of day 30. And the difference will move you deeply. Day 7, the celebration day. Day 7 is not a rest day. It is a celebration day. On day 7, you look back at your first week and you acknowledge what you did. You whispered English when it felt strange. You spoke to a mirror when it felt silly. You recorded yourself when it felt terrifying. These are not small things. These are acts of courage. Real courage. The courage to face the fear and do it anyway. On day 7, write down 3 things in English. Just 3 sentences. This week I felt afraid, but I spoke anyway. I am proud of myself for trying. I am ready for week 2. Write them. Say them out loud. Feel them. This celebration moment sends a powerful signal to your brain. It says, we did something hard this week. And we survived. And we will do it again. That signal is the foundation of confidence. Week 2, the toolkit. Welcome to week 2. You have survived week 1. You have proven to yourself that you can speak English even when it feels uncomfortable. Even when it feels scary. Now we start building tools. Because confidence without tools is incomplete. You can be brave and still go silent if you don't have the words, the structures, the techniques to keep speaking when it gets difficult. Week 2 gives you those tools. Day 8 and 9, the survival sentences. On days 8 and 9, I want you to build what I call your survival sentence list. These are the sentences that keep you alive in English conversations. The sentences you need when things get difficult. When you don't understand. When you need more time. When you want to keep the conversation going but don't know exactly what to say. Here are your essential survival sentences. Learn them. Practice them. Say them out loud 10 times each until they feel automatic. Could you repeat that, please? I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. What do you mean by that? Could you speak a little more slowly, please? I understand, but let me think for a moment. That's a good question. Let me think. I'm not sure, but I think. If I understand correctly, you are saying, I agree with you. That's interesting. Tell me more. These 10 sentences are your safety net. When a conversation gets difficult, these sentences buy you time. They keep you in the conversation. They signal to the other person that you are engaged in communicating, even while your brain works on what to say next. On days 8 and 9, practice these sentences until they feel completely natural. Until you don't have to think about them. Until they come automatically. Day 10 and 11, the expansion technique. On days 10 and 11, we work on one of the most powerful speaking techniques I know. I call it the expansion technique. And it is the answer to one of the biggest problems English speakers face. The problem of short answers. Many learners can answer a question. But they answer in 1 or 2 words. Yes. No. Good. Fine. And then silence. And that silence kills conversations. It puts pressure on the other person. It makes you seem uninterested or unfriendly, even when you are not. The expansion technique teaches you to take any short answer and expand it, to add detail, to keep speaking, to fill the silence with language. Here is how it works. Start with your basic answer. Then ask yourself 3 questions. What? When? Why? Or where? Or how? For example, someone asks, "How was your weekend?" Basic answer: good. Now expand. What did you do? I stayed home mostly. When? On Saturday I went out for a short walk. Why? Because I needed some fresh air and the weather was nice. Combined, it was good, actually. I mostly stayed home and rested, but on Saturday I went for a short walk because the weather was really nice and I needed some fresh air. See the difference? From one word to a natural, flowing answer. And all you did was add the what, when, and why. On days 10 and 11, practice this with simple questions. Ask yourself questions and expand your answers. Keep going until each answer is at least 3 or 4 sentences long. This technique alone will transform how you sound in conversations. Day 12 and 13, the storytelling formula. On days 12 and 13, we go one level deeper. Because conversations are not just questions and answers. Conversations are stories. Every interesting conversation involves someone telling a small story. Something that happened. Something they experienced. Something they noticed. And the ability to tell these small stories is what makes someone interesting and engaging to talk to. Here is a simple storytelling formula that works for any story in any conversation. Setting. Problem. Action. Result. Feeling. Let me show you how it works. Setting: last Tuesday I was on my way to work. Problem: suddenly I realized I had forgotten my phone at home. Action: I had to go all the way back to get it. Result: I arrived at work almost 1 hour late. Feeling: I felt terrible about it all day. But actually, everyone was very understanding. That is a complete, natural, engaging story. And it follows the simple formula. Setting, problem, action, result, feeling. On days 12 and 13, practice this formula with stories from your own life. Small, everyday stories. Nothing dramatic or complicated. Something that happened this week. Something that surprised you. Something funny or annoying or interesting that you experienced. Tell the story out loud. Follow the formula. Practice until it feels natural. Day 14, Week 2 celebration. Day 14 is your second celebration day. This week you learn survival sentences that will protect you in any conversation. You learned the expansion technique to turn short answers into real communication. And you learned the storytelling formula to make your English interesting and engaging. You are not just learning English anymore. You are learning how to communicate. On day 14, do something special. Record yourself again. Same as day 6. 1 minute of English speaking. Then compare it to your day 6 recording. Listen to both. And notice the difference. Not perfect yet. But different. Better. Growing. That growth is real. That growth is yours. And it is only going to continue. Week 3, into the real world. Welcome to Week 3. And this is where things get exciting. And a little scary. And completely necessary. Week 3 is about taking everything you have built in the last 2 weeks and using it in real practice. Longer, more complex, more natural speaking. Not perfectly, but really. Day 15 and 16, the 10-minute talk. On days 15 and 16, your speaking practice goes to 10 minutes. Not 2 minutes. Not 5. 10 full minutes of continuous English speaking. Alone. In your room. No audience. No judgment. Just you and the language. Choose a topic. Any topic you care about. Your work. Your family. Your city. Your hobby. A film you recently watched. A problem you are thinking about. Something that happened to you. And talk. For 10 minutes. Without stopping. Now, 10 minutes of continuous talking is harder than it sounds. You will reach moments where you run out of things to say. Where you feel stuck. Where silence starts to creep back in. When that happens, don't stop. Do one of these things. Repeat your last idea in different words. What I mean is, in other words, ask yourself a question about what you just said. But why do I feel that way? What happened after that? Go back to the beginning. So, as I was saying at the start, add a detail you forgot. Oh, and I should also mention, these bridges keep you speaking. They are the same tools that native speakers use when they need a moment to think. And using them makes you sound more natural, not less. 10 minutes. Every day on days 15 and 16. Keep going no matter what. Day 17 and 18, the dialogue practice. On days 17 and 18, we try something different. Something that many learners find surprisingly powerful. You are going to have a conversation with yourself. Playing both sides. I know that sounds unusual. But stay with me. Because this technique teaches you something that no other exercise can. It teaches you to react. To respond. To think on your feet in English. Here is how it works. You choose a scenario. A simple, everyday situation. And you play both people in the conversation. For example, an interview scenario. You ask, "So, can you tell me about yourself?" You answer, "Yes, of course. My name is, and I currently work as." You ask, "And what are your main strengths?" You answer, "I think my biggest strength is." You ask, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" You answer, "That's a great question. In 5 years, I hope to." Switch between the two voices. Make each one slightly different. And keep the conversation going for 5 to 7 minutes. Other good scenarios: ordering food at a restaurant. Asking for help in a shop. Meeting someone for the first time. Explaining a problem to a colleague. The dialogue practice trains your brain to respond quickly. To switch between listening mode and speaking mode. And to handle the unpredictability of real conversation. All without the pressure of another real person. Day 19 and 20, speaking with a real person. Now. Day 19 and 20. This is the moment that separates the people who improve from the people who stay the same. Day 19 and 20, you are going to speak English with a real person. I can feel some of you tensing up as you read that. Your heart is beating a little faster. The familiar fear is arriving. Good. That means this is important. And necessary. Here is the good news. I am not asking you to do anything dramatic. I am not asking you to give a speech or join a debate. I am asking for one short conversation. Even 5 minutes. With one real person. Here are your options. Find a language exchange partner online. There are many free platforms where people around the world connect to practice languages together. You help them with your native language. They help you with English. 5 to 10 minutes is enough to start. Join an online English speaking group. Many groups meet on video call for casual English conversation. Beginners are always welcome. And the environment is supportive and encouraging. Find a friend or family member who is learning English too. Practice together. Two nervous people speaking English together can be surprisingly fun. And the shared nervousness actually helps both people relax. Whatever you choose, do it. On day 19 or 20. One conversation. Real English with a real person. And when it is over, I want you to notice something. Notice that you survived. Notice that the world did not end. Notice that even if it was imperfect, even if there were mistakes, even if there were moments of silence, you communicated. You made a human connection in English. That is not small. That is everything. Day 21, Week 3 Reflection. Day 21 is your reflection day. This week was the hardest week. You pushed yourself into real, extended, complex speaking. And most importantly, you spoke with a real person. Take 15 minutes on day 21 to write in English. A full paragraph. About this week. What was hard? What surprised you? What you noticed about your English? What you are proud of? Write honestly. Write imperfectly. Write in English. And then read it back to yourself. Out loud. That paragraph, written and spoken by you, in English, after 3 weeks of consistent practice, is proof. Concrete, real, undeniable proof of who you are becoming. Week 4, the identity shift. Welcome to Week 4. The final week. And the most important one. Because here is something I need to tell you. Fluency is not only a skill. It is an identity. It is how you see yourself. It is the story you tell about who you are. And there is a dangerous identity that many English learners carry without realizing it. They see themselves as learners. As people who are trying. As people whose English is not good enough yet. And that identity, while it feels humble and honest, is actually holding them back. Because you act consistently with how you see yourself. If you see yourself as someone whose English is not good enough, you will hold back. You will hesitate. You will stay quiet. Week 4 is about changing that identity. About beginning to see yourself not as a learner who is trying to speak English, but as a speaker who is continuing to grow. The difference between those two identities is enormous. And the shift begins here. Day 22 and 23, the identity sentences. On days 22 and 23, start each morning with your identity sentences. Say these out loud. With conviction. With belief. Even if it feels strange at first. I am an English speaker. I am becoming more fluent every day. English is becoming natural for me. I speak with more confidence every day. I am not afraid of mistakes. Mistakes are how I grow. My English voice is strong and clear. People understand me when I speak. I enjoy speaking English. It feels good to communicate. Say each one 5 times. Slowly. Feeling the words. Not just saying them. This practice, which psychologists call identity-based affirmation, is one of the most researched and proven techniques for behavioral change. When you consistently tell your brain a new story about who you are, your brain begins to act consistently with that story. You start making choices that an English speaker makes. You start responding the way an English speaker responds. You start feeling the confidence that an English speaker feels. Identity first. Behavior follows. Day 24 and 25, Teaching English. One of the most powerful things you can do to solidify your English is to teach it to someone else. On days 24 and 25, find someone who knows less English than you. A younger sibling. A friend who is just beginning. A parent who is curious. Anyone. And teach them something simple. 5 basic greetings. A few useful phrases. How to introduce themselves. When you teach something, 2 powerful things happen. First, your brain reviews and reorganizes everything it knows about that topic. It finds connections you didn't notice before. It clarifies things that were fuzzy. Teaching is one of the best forms of learning. Second, you step into the role of a speaker. Not a learner. A speaker. Someone who knows English well enough to share it with others. And stepping into that role, even briefly, changes how you see yourself. If you have nobody to teach in person, teach an imaginary student. Speak out loud as if someone is sitting in front of you. Explain simple English concepts. Today I want to teach you how to introduce yourself. First, you say your name. Then you say where you are from. Then you say something about yourself. 5 to 10 minutes of teaching practice on days 24 and 25. And notice how it changes the way you feel about your English. Day 26, 27, and 28, the Real Conversations Week. In the final stretch of week 4, days 26, 27, and 28, I want you to have 3 real English conversations. 1 each day. These conversations don't have to be long. 10 to 15 minutes each. But they should be real. With real people. In real English. Use your language exchange partner again. Try a new online speaking group. Call a friend who speaks English. Whatever works for you. But 3 conversations in 3 days. And each time, I want you to use something specific from your training. In the first conversation, use your survival sentences deliberately. Notice how they feel now. More automatic? More natural? More comfortable? In the second conversation, use the expansion technique. Give longer answers than you feel you need to. Push yourself to add detail. To keep talking when a shorter answer would be easier. In the third conversation, tell one story. A real story from your life. Using the storytelling formula. Setting, problem, action, result, feeling. 3 conversations. 3 tools. 3 real moments of English connection. Day 29, the reflection letter. Day 29 is one of my favorite days in this entire plan. On day 29, you are going to write a letter. In English. To the person you were on day 1. The person who was silent. The person who was afraid. The person who didn't believe that this was possible. Write to that person. Tell them what happened. Tell them what you discovered. Tell them what you want them to know. Maybe you write something like this. Dear Day 1 Me. I know you are afraid right now. I know the silence feels permanent. I know you are not sure if this will work. But I want to tell you something. It works. Not because it is magic, but because you showed up. Every day. Even when it was hard. Even when it felt pointless. You kept going. And something changed. Not just your English. Something deeper. You started to believe in yourself. And that belief is the most powerful thing you built in these 30 days. Keep going. I am proud of you. Write your own version. From your own heart. In your own words. This letter is not just a reflection. It is evidence of transformation. Real, personal, deeply felt evidence that you are not the same person you were 29 days ago. Day 30, the final recording and celebration. Day 30. The final day. And we do two things. First, you record yourself again. 3 minutes this time. Speaking about anything you want. Your 30-day journey. What you learned. How you feel. What you want to do next. Then you listen to this recording alongside your day 1 recording. And you hear the difference. I have seen this moment happen with many learners. And every time, the reaction is the same. First, surprise. Then pride. Then often, emotion. Because hearing the difference between day 1 and day 30 is hearing proof. Audible, undeniable proof that you have grown. Second, you celebrate. Properly. Not a small acknowledgement. A real celebration. Tell someone what you accomplished. Someone who matters to you. A friend, a family member, anyone. Tell them, for the last 30 days, I practiced English every single day. And I changed. Because you did. And that deserves to be seen. What happened to Lena? Now let me come back to Lena. The young woman from Poland who felt like she was standing behind a glass wall. Watching English conversations happen without being able to join them. Lena followed a plan very similar to the one I just gave you. Week 1, she whispered English in her room. She spoke to her mirror. She recorded herself and cried a little when she heard her own voice. But she kept going. Week 2, she learned her survival sentences. She practiced expanding her answers. She told small stories out loud to nobody in her empty apartment. Week 3, she had her first real conversation with a language partner online. She told me later that her hands were shaking before the call started. That she almost canceled 3 times. But she pressed the green button. And she spoke. And the other person, a woman from the Philippines who was also learning English, was kind and patient and encouraging. And they talked for 20 minutes. Imperfect English on both sides. But real communication. Real connection. Lena said it was one of the most exciting things she had ever done. Week 4, something shifted inside her. She stopped introducing herself as someone who is trying to learn English. And she started saying, I speak English. I am still improving, but I speak it. That change in how she described herself changed everything. Her posture when speaking changed. Her eye contact changed. Her willingness to push through difficult moments changed. At the end of 30 days, she recorded herself and compared it to day 1. She told me that when she heard the day 1 recording, she almost didn't recognize herself. The voice was small. Hesitant. Apologetic. Like someone asking permission to exist in the English language. And her day 30 voice? Different. Present. Real. Like someone who belonged. Lena did not become perfectly fluent in 30 days. That is not what this plan promises. What this plan promises is a different relationship with English. And Lena had that. Completely. She told me, I am not behind the glass wall anymore. I am in the conversation. It is still sometimes hard. But I am in it. And that changes everything. Your 30 days begin now. We have covered so much today. And I want to leave you with a clear picture of the road ahead. 30 days. 4 weeks. 4 stages. Week 1, safety. Whisper practice. Mirror conversations. Recording yourself. Building comfort with your own English voice. Week 2, tools. Survival sentences. The expansion technique. The storytelling formula. Building the skills that keep you speaking. Week 3, real practice. 10-minute talks. Dialogue practice with yourself. And your first real conversation with another person. Week 4, identity. Speaking is who you are becoming, not who you were. Teaching. 3 real conversations. Your reflection letter. Your final recording. 30 days. 1 decision. 1 commitment. And I want to be honest with you. There will be hard days in those 30 days. Days when you feel like nothing is changing. Days when the fear comes back. Days when you want to skip. On those days, I want you to remember one thing. The silence is not your identity. It is just a habit. And habits can be changed. You are not a silent person who cannot speak English. You are a speaker who has not yet had enough practice. And practice is exactly what these 30 days will give you. So tonight, before you sleep, do one thing. Take out a notebook or your phone. And write 3 words. Day 1. Tomorrow. That is all. Just commit to day 1. Just tomorrow. And then day 2 will come. And day 3. And before you know it, you will be standing at day 30, listening to 2 recordings of yourself, feeling something that no amount of studying in a classroom could ever give you. The feeling of becoming. If this lesson helped you, subscribe to English Tom. Because on this channel, we are not just learning English. We are breaking silences. We are building confidence. We are becoming speakers, one brave day at a time. Comment below with one word. The word that describes how you feel right now about starting this 30-day journey. One word. Real and honest. I'm Tommy. And I will see you on day 1. Let's break the silence. Together.